Going live.
Yeah.
How far do you guys bike?
We're just trying to explore the neighborhood right now. It's like every road leads to a main road,
I
so
know
it's kind of hard.
It's kind of a funny area. You're not quickly away from.
And if we wanted to get into an area, like we'd have to get on the main road to get into any area that was like. So we go through little residential areas, and then we hit a main road, and we try and find a quick little back in. So it's a little challenging with the kids, but
sure.
I don't know. Maybe I just need to load the bikes up and go somewhere, which is its own challenge because I have a little car. But are we live?
Yeah, you've been live for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
You guys were having a conversation
just talking about. Hey guys, we're live. Just
Welcome.
kind of talking about what I've been doing with the kids these days, going on bike rides with them and trying to entertain them. But luckily, the weather's been nice for us all, so it's been great.
It was
for the
69
kids.
degrees yesterday.
Yeah, it was fantastic. We had our windows open and in the evening, so the breeze could come through because it's really warm. Yeah.
Well, apparently we need to say who we are because Jeff said some people are showing up on our Facebook page and they're wondering who we are. So, Jeff, tell them who we are.
Well, I don't know if they actually are showing up on their Facebook page. I was just thinking if they did, they wouldn't have a clue who we were. Sorry, I'm just making sure this is all working. We're trying out some new sound. We're trying out some new video stuff. But so there we go. It sounds like it's working.
We had some great feedback from different ones of you who have been watching. So
yeah. You know what? We're trying to improve it every week. Get a better picture, get better sound. I think that we've, with the help of Vern's son, he came. We worked through some stuff on Wednesday night, and he downloaded some wisdom. Anyways, back to who we are. Well, first of all, we're at the Chilliwack Vineyard Center in Chilliwack, BC, and this is Facebook Live, so it can really go to all corners of the earth if it wants to. So we are in Canada, and we're Canadians, and we're all part of the pastoral team here at the Chilliwack Vineyard, and we're navigating a whole new way of doing church right now and connecting with people. I am Jeff, and this is my wife Megan. And this is Vern. Vern is the founding pastor here at the Chilliwack Vineyard. You guys.
1995, so it's a few years ago now.
Yeah, planted the church here. So that's who we are. And so now, if you're ever wondering, you can come back to this video and watch the first 3 minutes of it. Well, we'll try to introduce ourselves a little more often.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. So it's Good Friday. I don't know if you say Happy Good Friday. You can if you want, right?
But if you want.
Happy Good Friday.
We can start something new.
Yeah. Happy Good Friday. We're entering into Easter. And on Sunday, we're going to be celebrating, the biggest celebration that we as Christians have following Jesus, our hope of the resurrection and how Jesus conquered the grave and gave us victory over death, how he went before us. And he's the forerunner of our faith. And Vern's going to be talking more about that on Sunday. So make sure that you join us on Easter Sunday, where we're going to be celebrating the resurrection of Christ and what that means for us. And especially in these times, we need these messages of hope and resurrection life. But before the resurrection was the death. And so Jesus first had to embrace death so that he could have the resurrection. And so I want to talk about us as we're, remembering Christ going before us and dying for us. There's a call for us to embrace death. And not just physically. We can actually embrace death physically because we know that there's resurrection life. Like Paul said, it's far better that I leave. I want to be with Christ, right? That he would embrace death so physically, but more so embracing death here and now with Christ. And so Christ had to first embrace death. And he knew what was coming. In Hebrews 12:2, he knew what was on the other side of death. It says in Hebrews 12:2, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. See, Jesus knew what was going to be on the other side of the cross. Jesus knew what was going to be on the other side of death, the resurrection life, and what that was going to mean for all that would follow him. But first he had to face the cross. It says, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. And so Jesus was able to embrace death so that he knew what was on the other side of that, right? So, just because it says that for the joy set before him, it doesn't mean that it was easy. It doesn't mean that embracing death was an easy thing for Jesus. In Matthew 26, Jesus went into the garden and he prayed and he sweat blood and he prayed with just in pain and suffering, saying, Lord, if this can be taken from me. That for Jesus to embrace death was actually not an easy thing for him to walk that out. But he did it because he knew what was on the other side of that. And so for us on Good Friday, we can embrace this death along with Christ. We can actually participate in his suffering and in his death. And what Jesus said in the garden was, Lord, not my will be done, but your will be done, Father. And that's how we as Christians can embrace this death and this suffering with Christ, is that we come before God and say, not my will be done, God, but your will be done. And that's how we die to self, is we ask for the Father to reveal his will to us and that we lay our will down. And that's sort of this aspect of our lives where we embrace death, right? And we can lay down our will to pick up the will of the Father, because we know on the other side of that, when we're really in the will of God, is true life and true resurrection power. Paul says in Philippians 3:10, he says that I want to know Christ, yes, to know the power of his resurrection and participation in his sufferings, becoming like him in his death, and so somehow attaining to the resurrection from the dead. There is no resurrection without first some sort of death. Paul had to lay down his will. Paul had to lay down. He talks about before that, all these things that he had accomplished in this life, everything that he held dear to him. He had to lay all that down and give it to God and pick up the will of God and say, I want to somehow participate in the suffering and the death of Christ so I may experience resurrection. So as we move into Sunday, I just encourage us to go come to the Father and say, Lord, not my will be done, but your will be done in my life. And where are areas in my life that I need to surrender to you? And even ask that maybe there's a death of sorts that needs to take place. Maybe it's of sin or our own will, or where we're walking in ways that are not of the Lord, and that we would surrender those aspects of our life over to him so we can participate in the resurrection and in the life of Christ. Yeah, so that's sort of kind of what we can be praying over this Friday, this Good Friday.
It's interesting, Megan, as you're sharing, the thing that stands out to me is it's the other side that gives the context for everything we're going through right now and all of the dying to self and all of that. It's the other side. It's such the obvious parallel right now to this time is all these steps that we're having to make with social distancing and not going out with our friends and family, and all of these sacrifices that we're being told to make. Businesses not being open and movie theaters and all those. It's all said in the context of we're going to get to the other side, and this is going to be worth it on the other side. I mean, that's such a silly example, not a silly example, but it's such a poignant example right now in our lives. This is all for a reason as to where we're going to get to when we have a vaccination, or we have something that we're going to be able to live life the way we want to live life down the road. But if you don't have that, everything else just sucks in the present. But we can do those things you're talking about because we know there is another side. That on Sunday, my mom, who's passed away last year, she would always call me Sunday morning and go, he is risen. Mm-hmm. Because he's risen, all of that makes sense because the other side is coming. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting how that.
Mm-hmm. You had
there's a few years ago, Mike Scott, he read this poem, Dying to Self, and I meant to grab the actual one that he had said. I think it has a few more of these in here, but here's looks like a shortened version of that. I just want to read that out because what does it mean what does dying to self mean? What does that look like? And I think that this helps bring some clarity to that. When you are forgotten or neglected and you don't hurt with the insult, but your heart is happy, that is dying to self. When your advice is disregarded, your opinions ridiculed, and you refuse to let anger rise in your heart and take it all in patient, loving silence, that is dying to self. When you lovingly and patiently bear disorder, irregularity, tardiness, and annoyance, and endure it as Jesus endured it, that is dying to self. When you never care to refer to yourself in conversation or record your own good works or itch for praise after an accomplishment, when you can truly love to be unknown, that is dying to self. When you can see a brother or sister prosper and can honestly rejoice with him or her and feel no envy, even though your needs are greater, that is dying to self. When you're content with any food, any offering, any raiment, any climate, or any society, that is dying to self. When you can take correction, when you can humbly submit inwardly as well as outwardly, with no rebellion or resentment rising up within your heart, that is dying to self.
That's really good. I love that. It's this idea of picking up our cross, right? Jesus says, unless you can die to yourself, unless you can carry your cross, like you can't be a disciple of mine. This idea of laying down our will, laying down our any sort of selfishness in our life, and walking in the way of Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Which is what Jesus modeled on
Yeah.
on the Good Friday.
And that's a high bar. The high bar, what you
Very high
read,
bar.
my first thought is I'm listening to that and going, oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
boy.
But it happens little bits.
Yeah.
Like
It's little
little
surrenders.
bits at a time,
Yeah.
daily. It's not, it's a whole lifelong thing, right?
Yeah.
It's not like one day we're just like, okay, I've completely died to myself. It's like little bits. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't respond in a selfish way today, or I think I responded in a godly way today to this situation. It's just these little bits that we can.
Even just today, checking that. God, where in my life? What can I lay down? You laid your life down for me to wash and rid the world of everything that was evil and that was bad, and took it upon yourself. So what can I lay down even just today? If this is all this goes to
Right.
is today, and in the next 10 minutes after listening to this, a quick check with God. What can I lay down? What's a part of me that you need to so go ahead and do that. And it's little steps like that, little things that we do that allow us to step into that joy that is set before us. There's joy on the other side of that, and God walks us through that journey as
Yeah, and we
as
can
everything
do it with
unfolds.
joy like Jesus, because we know, hey, if I lay this down, if I say, Lord, your will be done in my life, we know that there's going to be good and joy and life on the other side of however hard it is to lay that down. It's going to be good, and there's going to be joy on the other side of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because Sunday's coming.
Sunday's coming.
Sunday's coming for sure. I seen a lot can happen in 7 days. That was a thing I'd seen on Facebook, and a lot can happen in 7 days. A lot can change after a few days, and wherever you're at in your journey, wherever you're at in your story, and a lot can change in a few days when God's involved. The whole world changed over a weekend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. What else we got going on?
Well, I'm just trying to think. We don't have a games night this Friday, but we're working on our next games night, Vineyard Games Night. So we will keep you in tune with that
Yeah.
in terms of what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yep, try and stay connected as good as you possibly can with people in your community, your friends. We know a couple of people from this church, a couple of young adults. They've done a tailgate party, so they meet at whatever location, and they back their cars in and lift up their tailgates and just kind of talk to each other that way, keeping the social distancing. A lot of our life groups are doing Zoom calls, which they're actually really enjoying. Checking in on one another, just making sure that you're really staying connected with each other the best that you can during this time. And then if you have prayer needs that you're reaching out, you can email us with your prayer needs on Thursday nights. Jeff and I have sort of a prayer evening that we do. So
Where's the
join
best
us
place
that.
for them to email those to?
Yeah. What is it?
What just do at this point? Just do Chilvine, CHILVINE at shaw.ca. Unless you have our personal emails, and many of you do. Maybe I'll just exhort us for a second here.
Sure.
If we've connected with a lot of you. There's a lot of people. Facebook's kind of funny because you don't really know who's watching, unless they post a
Right.
message, like when I make a joke and they go, LOL, that's
Right,
really
right.
funny, and Chuck or somebody, whatever that is. We don't know who's all. I mean, we're calling people, we're connecting with people, but if we haven't heard from you, and let's say in the last couple weeks, we need to hear. We need to know you're doing okay. And so if you're kind of one of those people that are on the edge and you're looking at this, just send us a quick email saying, hey, this is so and so. I haven't touched base. I have actually been watching, but we really are in a good way concerned that everybody has got a place and everybody's connected. So if you haven't let us know that you're still alive in the last couple weeks, I'm really asking you just to let us know how you're doing, how your family's doing. There's a few people we've left messages on phones and haven't heard back, or emails or whatever. Let us know. Give us a ping back, so to speak.
Right.
Tweet us. No, we don't. What?
Yeah, we don't do tweets.
But you hear what,
yeah.
you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
Facebook,
Because
Instagram.
there's a lot of
Yeah,
people that we've
private
connected with, but
message.
there's some people we're concerned about that we haven't heard from.
Right.
And we do care, and we really want to make sure people are doing
Right.
well.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yep. And Thursdays we'll be on at 7. Again, we'll be on this Sunday with worship and how church is going to look. And throw us some feedback on the sound and the video for today, because we're trying to improve that.
Yeah,
So.
and pray for us too. Like we even mentioned last night, pray for us. We're, Jeff's working really hard trying to figure out the technology aspect of all this. It's all so new and challenging at times. So, just remember to pray for us too as we try and navigate all this. Yeah.
Good.
All right.
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
it.
Bless you guys. We miss you. We love you. And we will see you Sunday morning.
Sunday
On the
morning.
other side.
Love
of
you guys.
10
Facebook.
a.m.
Yeah.